Hello, everyone. Um, I'm pleased to welcome you all to this October 2021 webinar series. This time we have a very interesting, edifying, and contemporary topic, which is data science applications in financial services, regulations, and risk management. My name is Basil Inhoma, a data scientist at the Hamoye AI Labs, and I'm joining in from Lagos, Nigeria. There is no gainsaying the fact that data science is one of the most exciting fields out there today. But why is it so important? This is because companies are sitting on a treasure trove of data. As modern technology has enabled the creation and storage of increasing amounts of information, data volumes have exploded in recent years. The wealth of data being collected and stored by these technologies can bring transformative benefits to organizations and societies around the world, but only if we can interpret them. Data science as well reviews a lot of trends and produces insights that businesses can use to make better decisions and create more innovative products and services. Data science as well is the bedrock of innovation, but its value comes from the information data scientists can glean from it and then act upon. That being said, data science has become like a very important sector in the financial industry, which is mostly used for better risk management and risk analysis. Better analysis leads to better decisions, which leads to an increase in profits for financial institutions. It also plays a very important role in fraud detection and recognizing suspicious behaviors and anomalous activities. Hence, the topic of our webinar session today, the data science applications in financial services, regulations, and risk management. Joining us today to discuss the topic is Eric Dunkel. Eric is the head of the Data Science and Artificial Intelligence Department of Bermuda Monetary Authority. He follows the latest advancements in machine learning field, teaches and as well implements some of the cutting edge technologies. So before we proceed further, I'd like you to note the following. Please feel free to make use of the chat box for chats and conversations around the topic. If you have any question, please feel free to make use of the chat box as well, or better still raise your hand and you will be unmuted. Rest assured that all questions will be attentively answered. So at this very point, I would like to hand over the mic to Eric Dunkel, who will take us through the session. Please relax and enjoy. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Basil, and good morning, good afternoon to all. Can you all hear me? It's really a pleasure to join you today to discuss this very interesting topic. Yes, as Basil has said, data science is really bringing up some of the best assets that organizations and countries have at the moment, which is data, and being able to harness the power of this data. It's really what defines the strategy and existential risk that most of the companies and countries are facing. So we today are going to discuss some of the application of data science in the financial services, and also look at how regulators have applied this to supervise these financial firms. And then hopefully we can look at some of the use cases that we have applied in insurance and in anti-money laundering, and then I believe that will give you some insight as to how you can appreciate the data science application. Let me bring up slides here. Yeah. Okay. Could you give me access to share the screen? You said host disabled participant sharing.
You have access now, Eric.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay. All right. Can you see the slides?
Not yet.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can see this. You can see your screen now.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to discuss this topic a little bit. The key things that we will look at based on, and Basil really did a very good introduction with the analogies that he gave. What you will see in data science today is that the transformation that is going on in the financial services industry is not only transforming how these firms are making money, but then also transforming how they engage with their customers and also how they really form their strategy. So today we're going to look at financial innovation. We will look at the regulator of the future who will, look at who is supposed to supervise this financial innovation. We will look at the enabling pillars that is really triggering the digital transformation. Then we will also look at some of the focus areas that we have attended. And I introduced some of the screenshots of our demos. We have an application we've built, so brought some of the applications that we have developed and what those use cases were meant to solve. Yeah. So financial innovation really is reinventing the value chain of these financial institutions. And the goal there is to enhance customer experience. And as a result, also really make the cost of operation very, very low for firms. And at the moment, another goal is that the companies that are applying this financial innovation are targeting operational resilience. Operational resilience really it's key for them. And then for most of this reconfiguration of value chain, it's resulting in new business models. So banks, for example, in some years back, you have to go into the bank queue and really get your money or deposit your money. If you take an insurance company, you needed to do some blood tests and a few other underwriting to be able to get a life insurance policy. But for now, AI, machine learning, and artificial intelligence is enabling all this to be done just with an app. And you sometimes don't even need to leave your home. You can just take your camera, take a picture, and the underwriting can be done based on the features that they're seeing in those pictures. So those are all some of the applications. But now this new business models that we are seeing also has some risks that the financial institutions themselves, the market and the policyholders that they are engaging and the supervisory authorities are also confronted by this new risks that they have to look after. Financial institutions really are applying all this for business growth and to delight their customers. And the goal there is that fintech adoption, data science, and I'll use data science with machine learning and AI models interchangeably. And all that really will be I'll be calling the fintech adoption, but it's application of data science, AI, ML models, and AI adoption in this space. The cost of all this to the firms is that they are looking at how can we balance between the cost of regulatory compliance and operating our business in an efficient manner, creating the right products, giving the right product to our customers. How can we balance that? That is a striking balance that supervisory authorities are always assessing between the cost of regulatory compliance for these firms and the ability for these firms to operate and share and create value for their customers. The other thing that regulators are looking at is how can we make sure that our regulation is risk sensitive without putting so much burden on the market and on the firms. And then as a result, we want to be able to achieve greater economic development for the various markets without also putting draconian rules in place. Now, what this balancing act means is that the regulators themselves have to adopt some of this data science and supervisory technology to be able to keep up with the complexities that they are seeing in the changing business model and the emerging risk. You cannot chase someone riding a Ferrari engine on your foot. So that is what regulators now have to deal with. They have to be on the same horsepower with the companies and probably stay ahead of the game. So that's something that regulators now are focusing on. My slide is freezing. Okay, great. Sorry about that. So yeah, the regulator of the future who will be able to have this horsepower is one that has to adopt, data science, has to adopt the supervisory technology. And before all this recent digitization started, regulation had already been undergoing some transformation from the last financial crisis in 2008. And this new external forces of digitization is even making that the need for regulators to transform even more urgent. The lessons from the last financial crisis really, if you recall, led to tougher standards, like a lot of insurance companies and banks, their capital requirements were reviewed. In the insurance space, for example, they introduced what we call the International Capital Standard and CONFREM. They even introduced what we also call systemic risk monitoring. That is a global thing for large firms. These were all changes that came out from the last financial crisis. But if you look at the crisis that we are in now with the pandemic, the challenge that it brings, it looks a bit different. Unlike the last financial crisis, the ashes of COVID-19 will not only reveal inadequacies in capitalization, liquidity, and governance practices of this firm, but it will also highlight existential risks that both regulators and firms that are not following up with the digitization and application of data science and AI machine learning models will be facing. Those firms will be dinosaurs. Those regulators will be dinosaurs in the near future. Now, as to future-proof yourself as a regulator and as a firm in the financial services industry, you need to possess the plasticity that will be embedded in your operation, your ability to be nimble, to respond to the need of your market. That plasticity is so much needed for you to be able to achieve, that leverage that you need to succeed with your strategy. But that can only come if you are getting insight into your data. That can only come if you can see and predict what is ahead of you with data science and take action so that you are not always catching up. You are sometimes ahead of the game, right? Now, regulators are taking the journey to respond to this COVID crisis and exploiting the opportunities that are emerging. There are three key areas that regulators are therefore focusing on to make sure that they are not caught behind. And as a result, we'll be able to supervise the risk and the emerging opportunities that this digitization is bringing to the market. So these enabling pillars are this, that the regulators and their firms have to set up with people centricity as a core thing. With the new digital world that we are in, that firms are in and regulators are looking at, people want swift service. They want to make sure what they want, they get it now, and it is tailored to their needs. And also, people here refer to your stakeholders, your staff, all the people that engage with you as a firm. It's a very volatile environment, what we call the VUCA world. it's so much changing. Your brand identity has to be, front and center of the customers. The other thing is that location independence, that your business and as a regulator, you should, and your people should be able to work remotely and in a diverse platform. It's not all the time you can have everybody sitting in one building anymore. Right now, a lot of us are even working from home. So you know that is not possible. But the third pillar, and that is where we are going to focus this conversation, is being resilient in your delivery of services. Adoption of data science, augmented intelligence, supervisory technology here refers to application of data science, machine learning, AI models to the supervision of the regulated firms. So that you see they always use subtech. Then also agility in business decision making. How can you get insight from your data so that you can make prompt, swift decision? That is a key thing. And to achieve all this, most firms and regulators are dealing with what we will call capacity creation. How can we create capacity such that we can leverage on our people and our people are not really stuck with doing mundane tasks, right? We want our people to be able to do works that are meaningful. And then as a result, if you go to the market to employ, you'll be an employer of choice. So resilient delivery is the pillar that I want us to focus on today, looking at the data science application. If you look to your right, there's two Gardner research that I quoted there, and Gardner said by 2023, organizations that have adopted composable approach will outpace competition by 80% in the speed of new feature delivery. And new feature here refers to new product delivery, new service delivery, and all that. And for you to have a composable organization, you need an organization that has been set up with the right infrastructure, with technology that allows you to change your course, to react to the market, to predict what is ahead of you, and really to tailor your business offering to meet those needs. That's a composable organization. And they also follow by saying that by 2024, organizations will lower operational costs by 30% by combining hyper-automation technology with redesigned operational processes. Now that's big, because if you can reduce your cost of operation by 30%, you literally, against your competition, you literally will be ahead of everyone. So that's important for the firms. Okay. I'm going to skip this since I'm focusing on the third pillar of resilient delivery. So in the case of our organization, and we are a regulator that look after thousands of insurance companies, right? So in our case, how we looked at resilient delivery is that we had to take a fresh and transformational approach to how we supervise our firms. And then most importantly, rethink how we've done things in the past. And it's just not us. This is the story of every firm that wants to make sure that it's not being challenged with existential risk. We have to also, most important thing, rethink how we make decisions. Can we delve into the data? Can we understand the balance sheet and the risk of each firm so that we have a tailored approach to supervision to each of the firms that we are looking at? The framework will be the same, but the approach to supervising the risks that you're observing from the firm's balance sheet, it's how it is the core thing that you have to tailor to. That we shifted our regulatory approach to adopt data science with augmented intelligence. We don't call it artificial intelligence for the most part in the firm or in our operations, because we want the human beings to be part of the decision making. So we call it augmented intelligence. And in this case, the target is how can we make sure that we are bringing efficiency to how we operate and how we do things, reducing the cost of operation. We also are making sure that we are effective in our mandate of supervising the risks that are in these firms. And most importantly, delighting the experience of our stakeholders. The stakeholders we are delighting here, most importantly, start with our staff, making sure they are doing things that is meaningful. They can make decisions because they are getting guidance from the data and from the models, the AI machine learning models that we have built. And really they feel enriched that they can sit before someone who is a very intelligent CEO and come across with questions and interviews that really is very insightful because they are getting those augmented intelligence that is pointing them in the right direction. And in this case, the other bit we had to focus on was designing an intelligent composable system within our organization to make sure that our business outcomes are timely, relevant, and contextual. We do not want to go and sit before a CEO of a big conglomerate and be talking about things that are so dated 3 years ago or 12 months ago. You want to be talking about things inside to the data that you get collected from them now, and also make prediction of what the path of the company looks like. And we are all this effort was aimed at what part of our business can be automated. And our goal is that let's automate every part of the business that can be automated. So the human being, when he sits at his desk, is really more focused on taking that insight from the dashboard, from the machine learning models to make intelligent decisions. Now, if you do that, instead of this person in the past crunching numbers, digging through a whole pile of data, you freed up all that time and is using that insight that is coming timely and that insight that is relevant to the conversation he's having with the CEO, and he can put it in context. You free up that time and created capacity for that conversation to carry on. The person goes from that conversation feeling very rewarded with the kind of work that he's doing. The next. Okay, so with us, what I call Focus Plus is how we approach all this. We first of all started with, okay, we have a ton of data from those companies that we supervise. And our goal is, okay, how are we going to make sure that we harness this data in a way that can be used in a timely fashion in the decision-making process? So we form a data strategy with a red text solution platform that collects the data from the market. Now, when that data is collected, then we look at, okay, we have firms that are using fintech and adopting data science. How can we build similar technology on our side so we are not left behind? That is the fintech subtech column. And from there, we make business intelligence, making sure that you are harnessing this insight so that it goes back to the supervisors to help in the decision making. And with the business, with the fintech, we applied artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing is soon in the making. We are quickly working on that. And automation of our processes was core focus for us. We also introduced a big data lake with all the infrastructure that will support this model development. And it's something that we always say in our firm, we say, there is no AI without IA. There is no artificial intelligence without information architecture. So we needed to set up our information architecture so that it will support the development of these models. We'll walk you through some of the skills that we, okay. So I've already mentioned to you that the core focus of our strategy was on these 3 E's here, right? The 3 E's is how can we reduce the cost of regulatory compliance and operational costs with automation? The effectiveness is how can we gain insight into risk identification and risk profiling of the financial institutions that we are looking after so that we can make swift and prompt decision in how to supervise them. And then the experience is how can we enhance the experience of our staff and of these firms that we are supervising such that when they interact with us, we will come across as an intelligent, well-informed supervisor who understands their business because we've delved into the data, who understands the risks that their companies are being faced with because we've also built models that look into the data and really pointing and flagging the risk. And I will show you some of the models and the output of some of the models that we built and how it helped us to achieve this 3E. Okay, now before we go in there, you might be asking, so what is it that you have in your shop as your data science shop, or what is it that I need to be able to participate in the data science world? Now, in our organization and in our shop, the data science department, our goal is to create a data-driven organization. And from there, we decided that, okay, we need data architecture, we need data scientists, data analysts, the business stakeholders themselves, the domain experts, data engineers, and database management colleagues who were also, we set up to have all this within the team. And we set up these areas with their roles and responsibilities and the skill sets. We want to go through the skill set, but these are things that you are very much familiar with, having SQL, Power, Python, R, those kind of skill set are all the things that we look out for the team that make up. But most importantly, this is the goal, an agile approach to software development. Making sure there's continuous integration and continuous development in the way we do things, making sure we apply a container-based approach to software development. We also looked at making sure that location independent people can work from anywhere and collaborate to make sure we can achieve our goal without bringing everybody into. And these are some of the softwares that we apply in our data science unit. Okay, so I will walk you through some of the data science, and like I said, we call it supervisory technology applications. One of the core things as a supervisor or as a financial services firm, you are always faced with, I'm writing all this business, I'm taking all this deposit, I'm writing all these insurance policies. There's a lot of risk that is coming onto my balance sheet. As a firm, I need to manage that, what we call the own risk and solvency self-assessment. You have to do that for your capitalization, for the regulator, so that the firm will do their own solvency assessment. But the regulator will also have to take a risk-based approach to supervision. So in our case, the first one we built was predictive models that really look at the risk classification of our firms. So we have over 1,000 firms. You cannot pour your resources equally to the 1,000 firms. You need to stratify them, classify, and look at the firms that are high risk, flag those so that you can focus on the areas of vulnerability that you need to keep an eye on so that you are not thinly spread across. So the first model that we built was to look at this particular use case and to flag the high risk firm, and then it's right into 5 layers: high risk, medium high, all the way to low risk, whereby you now focus a lot of your attention on the high risk. The other thing we did with the predictive analytics, predictive models there was to predict and identify the companies that, from what we have observed, are on a path to failure and recommend supervisory intervention, what we call the forward-looking risk call. So here you would have classified the firms already. You know that, okay, this is a high risk firm, this is a low risk firm, but then also, and you know the areas of vulnerability. You've identified what makes them high risk so that the supervisors can pay attention to those areas. But then also, you build another model that look at what is going to make this firm fail? Who are the candidates that, from what you are observing, the fact that a company is high risk doesn't mean it's going to fail. So you need to know, okay, of this firm, which ones are on the path to failure and how can I intervene? This is where our data science models really served us well. We design algorithms that learn patterns in the data, and we develop what we call the iSupervisor to assist our human supervisors to really hold their hand, as I call it, to point, okay, look here, look there, this risk is really out of range compared to all peers or compared to industry average. And from what you are seeing, if this continues for X number of years, this company will fail because of X, Y, Z. So those are all the things that what we call our iSupervisor is assisting our supervisors to do. That working together of the human supervisor and the iSupervisor, as we call it, is the augmented intelligence we are looking at. Now, these models are not just built and left to go wild. Models degenerate over time, and also market, data forces changes, and you have to always maintain this model. But then how do we make sure that these models are always relevant for the market we are in? We are always back testing and validating the predictions that these models are giving us. And that continuous training of the algorithm actually has served us well. I remember the first launch of our first model, AUC, under the AUC score, we had about 70%, 68, 70% for most of the model that we built. Now, over time, that has improved to way beyond 90% with continuous training. So continuous training and back testing is something that we are always keeping an eye on and working to make sure we are not left behind and that our models don't degenerate and lead us in the wrong path. Okay, so I mentioned this was one of the first generation models that we built. And in those, we did a random forest decision tree, logistic regression support sector machine. This was just the first generation models we built in 2018. And I'll just show you from where we came from and how we traveled along the line. But one thing I want to highlight, and you will see the output of this model very soon. One thing I want to highlight is that in addition to the risk calls that we're just talking about in the previous slide, risk identification, the other bit that we also looked at was cluster analysis and anomaly detection. Now, if you have 1,000 firms, there will definitely be some outliers, companies that is not just based on the risk, but their practices, the way they are structured, the way they do things really is way off from the others. So as a supervisor, and that is looking after a lot of companies in the financial services industry, you need to be able to identify the anomalies and also to be able to cluster the firms together so you know those that are peers, those that are similar. And it's also another layer of supervision that you want to be able to do so that those that are clustered together, that are peers, you can really give them the attention that that group deserve. A particular business model, and I talked about earlier about the changes in business model. If you see re-engineering of business model that is transform a group of firms to look similar, you want to tailor your supervision so that you can look at those firms in a similar fashion. At the same time, tailoring the nuances in their respective company balance sheet in a way that you can not apply a cookie cutter, but also, so you're looking at them similarly, but you are also recognizing the differences in the various rates that the firms are presenting. So this is just an output of the first generation model we built some years back. And from there, we have come to about 90% with the second generation model. Now, we talked about the risk profiling, and this is because of confidentiality, I cannot show names of the company. So I'm representing them with ID numbers, just random generated ID numbers to give you a picture of what we mean by the risk profiling of the firm that we talked about in the previous slide. This one, that's what we are looking at here. Yeah, so here we did a risk score, which is cutting out your high risk, your medium high risk, all the way to your low risk, right? You want to focus here as a supervisor. You want to focus on the firms that are here. You want to give those one as much attention rather than spreading your resources equally across. So this is a big capacity curator. It tailors your approach, and within each of these, why this firm is here, you will know. When you click on it, it will break it. It will give you insight. XYZ is the area you need to focus on. Those are what we call the areas of vulnerability that you need to focus on. Now, this is the actual score. But before we got here, we would have done a forecasted score because we always look 1 year in advance. We do the actual score and also look forward 1 year in advance. So this was the previously forecasted score for this very group of companies. This is a particular class of companies. Now you will see, without showing even the names of the company, you see that this particular company, for example, was forecasted as being high risk. And when the actual score came in, it was high risk. Because it's numbers, it's not easy to trace each of them, but we do this to make sure that our forecast and actual are very much aligned. And if we're doing the live demo as we do in our system, whilst I was hovering on it, you see that it will be picking here to show you the actual score where it was forecasted at. It will just be highlighting as a highlight that it will show you, but we're not able to do a live demo today. But this is a classic example of applying the data science to give you insight to the data and give you an idea of how to look at your firm. The other slide here is another one that I talked about in the previous slide about the companies that are on the path to failure. Now, you've seen this in the previous slide. Now, so does that mean that all these companies here are safe? Then we build a different model to really look into, is every green company safe, or there are green companies that might migrate, what we call the downgrade prediction, that might migrate. So then we build a different model, and that model just look at which of these companies is likely to migrate to this. So here, it's likely to migrate up. Now, that is what this our Columba line here is doing. It's taking the green companies and then flagging those that are likely to migrate in risk profile. So that's really another model that we built to, again, I'm showing you our one-shot model. We've subsequently built what we call the second generation model that really has even elevated the score to a higher percentage. I think we are about 90% now. Now, so that is one of the applications. The other application that I wanted us to look at is the anomaly detection. So earlier I talked about clustering. See how these firms cluster nicely together, but then look at that. Look at that, and even look at this, that cluster together, but they are so different from the others. Now you need this insight so that you know what to do. Now we use iForest and CBLOF to do all that. Now, once you can detect these anomalies,
you now can quickly, even before you go into their risk profile, you can quickly say, okay, what is going on here? Like that is a medium high company, but it's anomalous compared to all the others. That is a low risk company, but also, it's quite different from the others. So this doesn't look at just the risk score. This is looking at the company in line with all the others that are in that particular group of companies. And it's a very insightful thing, because as soon as the filing comes, you know who is out of range, and you can quickly start working on them. All right, so those are three use cases that we've looked at already. The other use case that we are piloting and soon will be looking to bring in something into production is natural language processing. We receive a lot of data. We receive some of the data filings by 1,000 pages. Now, for a human supervisor to sit at one sitting and read 1,000 pages and make sense of what is written in those textual documents, it's not that easy. It's quite daunting. Now, if you want to delight and enhance the experience of your staff, you don't put them through that. So now we want to build this natural language processing that will take these heavy filings and bring insight, that bring an abridged version. So you take 1,000-page textual text document and you summarize it to maybe 100-page that can be condensed and not lose the meaning, and the supervisor can sit and read 100 pages quickly, or even 50 pages, read that quickly and still get that insight that you would have gotten. And all this, we are looking at something that when you click a button, you take the document, you click a button, it generates that summary. We are also looking at natural language query, that instead of writing code to say, tell me all the companies that are on a path to failure or fall in a particular range or have capital that is in a particular range, writing that in code, you can write that in your natural language, in English, and it will bring all those companies up. Now, the supervisors are not programmers. They are not data scientists. So our unit have to put all this in place so that the supervisor can still interact with the data without needing to learn how to code in Python or R or SQL for that matter. So these are some of the use cases that we believe is transforming how we work, and it's also keeping us abreast with the development and the changes in business model. The future looks like that. I think Bez will talk about the big data and the velocity, the volume, and the variety of data that is coming in. You cannot eyeball every data point and make decisions. You need data science. You need machine learning models and AI to help you. And that is why we are setting ourselves up to be ready for the disruptive technology. Smart contracts in insurance industry is also in the horizon. We are looking at that. Internet of Things, and most importantly, Internet of Behavior, right, is something that we are looking at, because you don't only have figures, you have human beings that are behind these companies. Can you get insight into how people are behaving and thinking and the user experience, making sure you are capturing the behavior psychology component into your decision making or into your infrastructure. And blockchain is another thing that in the industry is soon is gradually gaining some traction. So again, being set up so that you will be ready for this. This is what earlier I referred to as composable organization, one that is set up to be ready and nimble for all these changes that are coming on the horizon, and apply data science to look into the value, the gold mine that this data represent, and be able to make quick, nimble decisions. So thank you. That's what I wanted to share with you today. And of course, we're going to do the Q&A. Here is how we are set up. in how we do our data science. We get the data from the various forms. We do the feature engineering, model training, and then the model hyperparameter tuning. We go through all that. Then we do what we do deploy it in an application, proprietary application that we have developed for Insight. So that's how our shop is. We use Python, R, and Tableau, Power BI, and we've set up an agile development environment with Jira and all those things. With GitHub and Git commit controls, all those things are in our shop. So I will pause here, and then we can do the questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Eric. This has been wonderful. Not just wonderful, it has also been very impactful. And I'm sure you already have so many people who are now thinking about doing data science in the financial industry already. So thank you very much, Eric. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we are receiving thank yous already from Judy saying thank you, sir, with a boom, 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 and more are coming in, I'm sure. But before we read all the comments that our participants on Zoom and on YouTube are sending, there are just a few questions, and I'll take the questions now. One is from our very own Onto Takuda. Onto Takuda is an intern with Hamoye, and is asking if there are any financial backgrounds that are necessary for us to follow up the conversation today.
Sorry, there was some background. Did you say financial background?
Yeah, financial backgrounds necessary for the conversation today, like a background in knowledge about finance.
Yes. Okay. So let me go back to what we have here, right? So on this page, we work together with so many people from different backgrounds, the stakeholders and what we call the business stakeholder. We have in our team, yes, domain experts as well within our team, but we also work closely. The best way to get results is work closely with the people that you are developing the solution for. So we do what we call the design thinking. We do a design thinking, we create a persona, we define what the persona does on a daily to day basis and what that solution is meant to solve for that persona. Then we do a proof of concept or proof of value. We go and show, is that aligned with what you are looking for? We iterate. So yes, if you are a core hardcore programmer and you have finance background, it helps. But if you don't, it's okay, because you can still add a lot of value because you have to work closely with the domain experts.
Wow, that was the point. I hope that is explanatory enough. Thank you, Eric. More questions coming in from Slido. Chukwebuka is asking, I'm a data science and I'm a data science beginner. And now I want to know what I must bear in mind if I must grow up to your level and experience, especially in the domain of finance.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. Data science beginner, I would say build on that, contribute to software development, try and become an expert in one of the domain of data science. Are you focusing on BI to business intelligence development? Become an expert in something first. And then you can, of course, take finance. Just even YouTube can give you enough background. Or as a data scientist, you don't need to, if you have it, that is great, but you don't need to be a chartered financial analyst or to be a chartered accountant, or you don't need all that. If you have that, it is actually perfect. But don't feel left out if you don't have that. I would say, since you're a beginner, try and rather become an expert in that domain, so that when you go into the room with the finance experts, you are an expert as well, and you can rather use their knowledge to build a solution for them. Now, for you to understand the language that they will be speaking, you then have to read around in finance, right? You need to watch some YouTube videos or books on finance. What is net present value? How do you discount
and how do you determine the value of an asset? Just watching videos around that enough for now is good, but focus on becoming a specialist yourself first. And when you get into the room and you are a specialist, you can now build more on your finance knowledge. Because as you interact with the finance expert, you actually will be learning. So that will help you as well.
Wow. Please take notes, build the expertise, and you are on the right path. Thank you so much, Eric. So we have more questions coming in. And so this one is coming from Gilead on Zoom. He said, I would like to ask, what are some of the challenges the organization has experienced with integrating new hires into the organization? Let me take it again. Gilead is asking, what are some of the challenges the organization has experienced with integrating new hires into the organization?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And I'll take it from both the data science part and the other unit, because we work with so many domain experts, right? If you come in as a data scientist, you obviously, like with previous question, you need to understand what's the domain that you are trying to solve that, develop the application for. So we take time to actually offer some lessons in insurance, and we do a lot of training to bring you up to speed. But some of the applications that we have built, if you're a new data scientist joining us, we build it for the supervisors, but if you sit behind the application for a couple of hours, by the time you've interacted with it, you actually know more than 50% all that you need to know about insurance. So that people getting that curiosity to really, the resources available in our firm is available. You have to just put in the hours. So that curiosity and interest to interact with the data and interact with the applications that is supposed to teach you is key. But if you come in and you don't have that curiosity, then that will be a challenge. That will certainly be a challenge. The other thing is, on the other side, those that are not in the data science team, and when they come on, they think data science and model building is a black box. Explainability for us is a key thing in any of the models that we build. So we want to sit you down and show you how the model was constructed in plain English without code. And most importantly, we have moved towards the approach of creating citizen data scientists. So again, if you come in, you want to be able to have interest in learning some of these data science things, so that when we are explaining what the model is doing, or when you are using the model output to make decisions, you can really you are not just taking the model, okay, the model said. We don't want you to say the model said. Okay, I understand what the model is doing here, and I know the company I'm looking at, so this and this makes sense to me. So that integration and curiosity is quite important. If you don't have it, that will be a challenge.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm sure Gilead is appreciative of what you said now. But one more question. What kind of anomalies do you look for to predict money laundering? This is coming from Lee Oliver on Zoom. What kind of anomalies do you look for to predict money laundering?
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a very good question. With money laundering, network analysis is your core thing, right? You want to make sure that, one transaction, if it's hitting so many people, you understand who are this and why are they participating in that transaction. So you want to know the path that one particular transaction is traveling. So and if that path doesn't make sense, then you would want to flag that. The other thing is that what we call the fitness and propriety of a particular person. So those people that are participating in the transaction, we do what we call fitness and propriety checks. And if that check leads to someone who is in fact, contaminated, if you can put it that way, and there is another person who's so remote out there that is connected to this person, straight away that becomes an anomaly that you have to flag. So the network analysis is key for the transaction and for the people involved. So you're doing network analysis for both the people involved in the transaction and the transaction itself.
This has been a wonderful time. I would really I would have wanted to call it close, but there's one more question. And this is about something you mentioned towards the end of the presentation. So he's asking, can you mention a few things about the impact of data science in blockchains? She's asking, can you mention a few things about the impact of data science in blockchains?
Yeah. So blockchain for us, if I will use a real life example, right? What is happening is that the value chain of an insurance company, for the most part, involves a lot of human beings. This person does this review, pass on to the other person, that contract, and it goes all the way to when there's a claim and it comes back. Now, the impact with blockchain with all this is that it can take all this transaction, the contract between two participants, like I'm an insurer, you are a reinsurer, it can take that. It can then make sure that that transaction is immutable. When we sign that contract, we know the time that we sign it, the contract has incepted, that agreement becomes immutable. Then also you get efficiency because you don't have so many people touching this contract on an ongoing basis. It's all set up in a chain that kind of works on its own. But for me, the impact that is even more significant is that you can set it up such that you can have automatic claims payments with the blockchain environment, with smart contract on top of that. You can have automatic claim payment for smaller amount or claims that fall within a particular structured form. You can really automate the payment. So nobody needs to really come and review and then approve before it goes to the bank, the cashier for payment. All that can be automated. So that's a big impact. Now, this is all possible because of data science, right? That's it.
I like when you said this is all possible because of data science. So thank you so much, Eric. Thank you. This has been a wonderful session. And there are a lot of comments coming in from our interns, and other participants. A lot of persons are saying thank you. Permit me to read them. I still have 1 more minute. So Jude is saying thank you. Eniola, thank you. Stephen up there is saying really appreciate the insight. Ujo Daniel is giving you 100%. Asina is saying thank you, really great session. Gilad is saying thanks for the presentation. And a lot more coming, and our participants on YouTube are also expressing their joy at what they've learned today. So for our interns and other participants, in case you have more questions, we can always reach Eric. Just send in your questions through hello@hamoye.io, and we'll pass them on to Eric, who I'm sure is willing to help you through. Thank you again, Eric. It's been a wonderful session. We hope to see how you come to mentor us, come to teach us, and come to help us grow up to be like you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, is there any last words you'd like to leave for our participants before you go?
Yeah, I would say thank you, first of all, for having me. It's a privilege to speak with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And also, I would say the future is data science. The real asset is data. And we're creating data day to day, and really have a big opportunity to make an impact. When I look at the impact that our small department has created within the organization, it's very rewarding. So as a data scientist, you have a very rewarding career. You can change people's lives with data and data science. So keep going.
Thank you so much. As you enjoy your weekend, dear people, remember what Eric just said. The future is data science. Thank you all, and have a lovely weekend. Have a lovely data science future. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again some other time.
All right. Thank you, Jay.